When you're being punished as a child and say, I love you, I'm punishing you because I love you, it's quite dangerous because you're now equating love with violence.
Hi, I'm Arati from EveryChild.SG, and today I have with me Sophia Klopp, who is a certified positive discipline parent educator. You're also co-director of Chapter 0 and co-founder of Positive Discipline Singapore. Welcome, Sophia. Thank you for joining us. Sophia, let's kick off by you telling me your story. Like, how did you fall into positive discipline?
I have 3 children, and the eldest is now 18, just entered national service. The second one is a 14-year-old daughter, and the third one is my 9-year-old son. Before we moved to Singapore, my older 2 were born in the United States, and I just parented the way my mom showed me, my dad showed me. I thought it was going great. They're very obedient kids. I've been praised for having obedient kids. They listen and all that. And I didn't know that there was another way, until I started to notice that there's constant need for approval, doesn't want to make mistakes. Everything needs to be perfect. And I'm seeing myself in my daughter, right? Like, why is she sweating over the small stuff? And it's a reflection of me and also lack of motivation. I got pregnant with my third. I got introduced to this whole new world of different kind of parenting. For me, it's more helpful, more holistic to my liking. And before I was a traditional parent. So it was a lot of like punitive punishment, punitive measures. I used to spank my older 2 because I grew up with corporal punishment as well. So there's like the use of belt. We didn't have canes in the Philippines. It was belt, shoes, whatever adults grab a hold of. Hands, of course. And also, making us kneel on mung beans and all that, which really hurt. So then all these, like I've seen anger and all that. I vowed not to do it to my kids in anger. So I tried to do like controlled spanking, controlled punishment and all that. But my triggers come up. It's like, it's hard to control it. It just like, it goes out of you and, you don't know how far you go. Yeah. We are emotional beings. So then I saw the look in my children's eyes and it hurt me. It broke my heart. So when I discovered this whole new different kind of parenting, my eyes was open. It's like, I didn't know. And I started to dig in. So I started joining like the Chapter 0 Respectful Mindful Parenting group. And I saw like, wow, this is like a whole new different way. But what about discipline? Like I have a need for control back then, right? Like what about discipline? So then it led me to positive discipline. It's like, okay, discipline that's positive, right? But then it's like a whole new
Thinking.
ball game. Yeah, because
Change the way you think.
exactly a different kind of mindset that rocked my core. Like I have to shift how I see myself as a child, like my past and all that, and make friends with it. And when I got into positive discipline, I just have to like share it with other parents because it's so helpful for my family. And when I talk to my kid, it's like they like this version of me better. And I could go on a little bit with more examples later on as we go along of how they reacted to my new kind of parenting.
Yeah, I think because also we parent the way our parents parent, right? It's a different outlook. So given your upbringing and how you were disciplined as a practitioner as well as a parent, when you heard about caning in schools, I mean, in Singapore, it's still in their list of actions, I guess, when they want to teach a lesson. What was your reaction?
Well, my initial reaction was this belief that it's still happening in schools. But then my thought went out to the children. Like I could imagine the confusion or they're frightened that the adult that they trust to protect them in school is the one causing pain, causing hurt because they needed to be taught something. And at the same time also, I felt sad because now we have research that shows that all these like fear-based measures, they're effective short term. They affect the long-term learning of skills that the children have. It affects their mental well-being, emotional well-being. And at the same time, I have compassion for the educators because a lot of them are under-resourced. And a lot of time, you default back to what's familiar, especially if you don't know a non-punitive way, a different way of approaching things.
I think that's the thing, right? We all become parents, but we're not taught how to be a parent. I'm not quite sure what the extent of disciplining is taught to them, right? Because they're only given the tools that they have. Okay, so why do you think many adults still conflate punishment with discipline. I think that's the difference, right? Between what we used to do and positive.
And I have to qualify this every time I say I'm a certified positive discipline educator, because a lot of times, most of us actually correlate discipline with punishment. I mean, if you just Google discipline, the Oxford Dictionary would say you can use punishment to make them obey. So it's like discipline is training person to obey the rules and using punishment if they disobey. You could easily fall into that trap of thinking that is discipline. That's the only definition. But if you look at the root word, the Latin word, like discere, which is like to learn, you discern something, or discipulus, like a disciple, a student. The root word actually shows us that its discipline is to teach, to guide, to learn. And the learning goes both ways. The child learns from us, and we learn so much from the children ourselves. And also there's a thinking that punishment is more of external locus of control. It's training the external locus of control. So if you don't have the external factors, the adult telling you what to do or punishing you, would they still do the right thing even when no one is looking? And that's the more important question. Positive discipline teaches that we hone their internal locus of control. So their internal discipline. Our main goal is to actually, when no one is looking, the child will do the right thing, which is what we want for our children, right? Because we cannot live forever. We cannot be there to guide them or to cane them or to punish them when they do wrong. They need to hone that. And in order to hone that, they need to make mistakes to learn, hey, I didn't do this. We have to catch them at the point where they make decisions to do the right thing or the wrong thing, and not just react when they do the wrong thing.
But then, I think as a parent myself, you have this frustration when you have certain, like you say, the root word of discipline is disciple. So we try and teach our children certain ways of doing things, certain processes, and every house has a rule, has a way of doing things so that things happen quickly. They still have to go to school. We still need to be on time. You still need to get to bed on time. All of these kinds of things are put in place to so-called teach children how to manage themselves and how to have a routine. I guess it doesn't go according to plan, and parents get frustrated. How do you manage that?
And it's very real, right? That also happens to me, even if I'm a parent coach. It's a constant learning process and flexibility. And it's also needs-based. So I really like that needs-based because when we do positive discipline, it's like kindness and firmness at the same time. Kindness is honoring the needs of the child. I see you, I hear you. And then firmness is the needs of the adult in the situation. So for example, like morning routines, right? We have to get going. I will be late for work. And we don't do it right there and then. It takes a lot of proactive work. When you're in a connected time, that's when you discuss it. Like, hey, I want to have a conversation with you because I know you don't like me shouting or nagging at you in the morning. I wonder if we could work something out where there's a morning routine that we could follow so that both of us could go out the door, a decent time.
I mean, a decent frame of mind.
Decent frame of mind, right? Like, who wants a teacher receiving a child who's like dysregulated because of like morning hassles at home, right?
Yeah.
It's hard for them to learn. They only learn when they feel safe and supported.
So what do you see? I mean, obviously you work with a lot of families and work with a lot of children. What do you see as the mental effect of punitive punishment compared to positives?
It's funny with my work with parents, and like the younger parent would ask, like, how do I get my child to listen? And by listening, they mean to obey them, to follow them. And then as they grow older, I work with a lot of parents of teens. It's now the lack of motivation, lack of decision-making skills. They don't know what to do. They just follow their peers.
Because they've been told to do it.
Because their whole childhood, they've just been told what to do. I also experienced this as a parent of my eldest child. When he was younger, I liked control back then, and I like everything to go smoothly. And he just followed. Until when he was like, I think 9 years old, every little decision he would ask for our opinion. For some reason, I thought, he's 9. He should be making these decisions already by himself, right? He's becoming a teenager. I can't be there to just tell him what to do. But he didn't get to practice making decisions for himself because, I would like for you to sign up for this class because it'll make you better. But it's not something that the child may have wanted or may have passion for.
Yeah. What does research say about the long-term psychological effects of corporal punishment?
Well, the World Health Organization set out a study, a report this year about the long-term effects of corporal punishment. One of the key findings is that 24% are less likely to develop on track compared to their peers who didn't experience corporal punishment, right? And there's also the increase of like anxiety, depression, emotional instability that could go into adulthood. And in fact, as they're becoming adults, it's more likely that they would be violent themselves, like hurt people and show aggressive behavior, and also have like that suicidal thoughts and actually suicidal actions. And in positive discipline, we have this 4 R's of punishment that beliefs that children make when they're being punished. So I have like resentment, rebellion, revenge, and retreat. So resentment, when a child is punished, they will think like, I can't trust you. You punish me, I can't trust you. Rebellion is, I will get back at you. I will not do as you say. I will do the opposite of what you tell me. Revenge also ties that in. I will get you. I will get even. Right? You may be winning now, but I will get even. And then the retreat. A lot of people fall into this. So retreat can show up as sneakiness, hiding things so that they won't be caught. There's like lying about it and all that. And then the reduced self-esteem. The child believes that they will never be good enough, that they're bad, so might as well do bad things. So those are the 4 R's of punishment in positive discipline. It shows us that punishment doesn't really correlate to self-discipline. When we punish a child, it doesn't mean that they instantly learn how to discipline themselves. We have to show them. We have to model for them. And I saw this Compassion Prison project done in the US, and it's really eye-opening and heartbreaking at the same time. This is done by a female who did the study in a high-security prison. So these are like violent, prisoners. They stood in a circle. So it's like a step in a circle activity. And the facilitator in the middle. And they went through adverse childhood experiences. So the study's goal is to see whether trauma and adverse childhood experiences, or ACE, has an effect on the violent adults. They asked, did you grow up being physically, experiencing corporal punishment? Step into the circle. A lot of like prisoners stepped into the circle, and they went through like 10, like emotional abuse, incarcerated relative or parent. There's also divorce. So there's like a lot of steps, right? And eventually, a lot of them are like in the circle, close to each other. And this goes to show that corporal punishment doesn't really make the violence disappear. Yeah. In fact, it actually perpetuates the violence, because that's the only thing that they learn. That's the only way that they see as they were growing up. And it also, as a mother of a daughter, it shows that when you're being punished as a child and say, I love you, I'm punishing you because I love you, it's quite dangerous, because you're now equating love with violence. I do not want that for my daughter. We have like a lot of like domestic abuse cases. I want her to learn that love is doing something that is like wholehearted for you, and not because you fear someone or you don't want to get hurt.
So can you give me an example of how positive discipline would work? Say, for example, I don't know, a child doesn't want to do the homework, for example. How would you suggest using positive discipline in a situation like that?
A lot of times, positive discipline is proactive work, but in the moment when it's happening, we connect first. So connection before correction. I do want him to do his homework, and this is very alive in our home right now. Right? And my first thought is like, what is the child needing? It could be that they're hungry, or sometimes they come home hungry. So do they need a snack first before they do homework? Or do they need to relax first before they do homework? Because you're like, for example, you went to work 8 hours a day and you come home and I make you do more work. How would you feel about that? Children also need that downtime. Getting curious as to what the child is needing. And it could be also that they find it hard. Maybe it's overwhelming for them and they need help with just finding that one small step to get the homework going, to find that motivation. So connect first, sit down with them. Sometimes they need someone beside them to do the work. And if you have capacity to do it proactively, meaning at a more connected time, you talk about why it's not working. Do you need support from the teachers? What could our afternoon after school routine be? Like, do you want to do this first before homework, or you want to get homework done and then you do the fun stuff?
Okay, so connection before correction. Problem solving, I mean, I think also you say discussing with them how you can work it out together. I guess the idea is to teach the child as well how to do that with you.
Yeah, with the younger children, we do a lot of like visual cues, like routines. So you could have like a routine chart where it could be a picture of them brushing their teeth or putting their shoes on or packing their bags when they see themselves actually, or you could actually ask them to draw it. And then it's something that the routine that they could follow. Yeah, because their brain is not fully developed yet. It fully develops the planning, the following routine, making decisions, fully develops at 25. So they rely on us and with this executive functioning skills. We show them, we guide them in having this routine that makes morning smooth for us or afternoon smooth for us.
So you were saying the planning part of the brain only develops at 25. What is the discerning part of the brain? When does that kind of come in? Like, for instance, for example, if there are bullying instances in schools, we are hearing about that more and more now, and where it's being punished punitively. At what point does a child then decide actually that I may have seen this and this may be my experience, but I don't want to do this to somebody else, or I still want to assert my authority? At what point and how does that? How do we change that?
Yeah. So when the brain fully develops at 25, it doesn't mean that it's zero, right? Like there's no learning, right? So early primary or like preschool, they start to observe, the happenings in the world. They start to like think about morality, like, hey, that's not fair. Like I want, like all that fairness issues. They see how adults respond to it. They see how, when you say like bullying and all that, right? What do they see at home also? Do they see mutual respect? Do they see that I value your opinion? And a lot of times when we tell our children, don't shout, but we were shouting at them, don't shout, right? It's confusing. It's like the opposite of what you're trying to teach. Or like, I told you not to hit, and then you cane them. So what are they learning? It's very confusing for a child.
So how then can we break that cycle where adults are perpetrating that for the next generation?
When I got into cycle breaking, it made me realize that there's a lot of things that I need to learn about myself also. And a lot of things that I learned about my parents. It's like you said, generational. Like it's passed on from generations to generations until someone decides to say, I want to do things differently. And that's where I am right now. I acknowledge first what I experienced in my childhood. There's definitely, I don't want to blame my parents or anything, or the adults, the caregivers in my life. Because of them, I'm in this line of work that I do. And also understanding that they also experience that. So this like hurting people, and that cycle of ongoing. It takes one person to just have that strength to show that actually gentleness and respect can come together, without the use of shame, of blame and punishment. And it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of patience. I thought I was fine. I keep hearing and I keep seeing on the forums, right? Like I was spanked, I was caned, and I turned out fine. I also said that I turned out fine until I have children, and they showed me the things that I really needed to see, that I really needed to learn, and I really needed to embrace, to heal from.
So how do we get more parents to do this? Because again, there are so many lessons. Before you were talking about when you have a child and in the hospital, you have parent craft, and then suddenly it just kind of dies off, right? There's no lessons in parenting. There's no lessons on how to parent yourself before you become a parent. How do we get more people into this?
It's funny how when we're pregnant, when mothers are pregnant, we have like how to, go through your pregnancy, what to expect when you're expecting, how to bathe a baby. But yes, you're right. There's not much about raising a child, especially raising a teen. And actually, I'm so glad that programs are popping up right now. I remember when we did the forum with Every Child and I was in the parenting panel, one of them suggested that when we have that antenatal programs in hospitals, that parenting would also be included, and not just, like how to take care of a baby, the physical aspects of it, but actually how to like nurture and respond to this baby in a more respectful and compassionate way. Because when we worked with families and babies, that child will become a more resilient adult who practices mutual respect for others, that the society will change. And it starts with like one family at a time, one child at a time, right? So I really love how what Every Child is doing, reaching out to many parents, reaching out to schools and legislators. And then there's also like lots of programs already. Positive Discipline is one. Chapter 0 does a lot of like mindful parenting, respectful parenting, and also mindful educator. There's like positive discipline in the classroom. These are available, and I think parents and educators just need more awareness, because when you're stuck in that, this is the only way I know how to do, it's hard to move from that. You don't have to accept it.
Can you share a couple of strategies using the positive discipline theories that might help parents set boundaries with their children?
I like this quote by Prentice Hemphill that says, "Boundaries are the distance at which I could love both you and me at the same time." So this really aligns with positive discipline, wherein you honor the needs of both the parent and the child and also the situation. So there's a few strategies that I wanted to share, which is kindness and firmness at the same time. So kindness is honoring the needs of the child. You matter to me, right? And then firmness is honoring the needs of the adult and the situation. So that shows up as following through your agreement and all that. The next one is connection over correction. When we approach a behavior that's not comfortable or challenging for us, we always try to connect first, because when children feel that you see them, you listen to them, you know what they're going through, they're more likely to listen to you. When you don't listen to them, they won't listen to you. And the last one, it would be problem solving. So this is when something happened that breaks your relationship or like kind of harms your relationship. We could always revisit, acknowledging that mistakes are actually opportunities for learning, and problem solving the steps that we could do differently next time so that both our needs are met at the same time. You can learn, you can explore.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arti.
If you find these conversations valuable, please like the video, subscribe, and follow us so you may never miss an episode. So grab a copy and let's talk about what matters.